Don was a 14-year-old boy with a big heart, but a short fuse. He was quick to react, whether someone teased him, challenged him, or didn't treat him the way he thought was fair. He'd talk back, raise his voice, and sometimes even storm off. It didn't take much to get Don upset. One summer, Don's parents sent him to spend a few weeks with his grandfather Roger, a retired teacher who lived in a small, peaceful town by the lake. Don wasn't too thrilled. "What am I going to do out there with Grandpa? No Wi-Fi, no games, just trees and water," he muttered. But his parents hoped the time with Roger would teach Don something no classroom could. The first morning, Don and Roger went for a walk by the lake. The air was cool, and birds chirped in the trees. "You seem quiet," Roger said. "Just tired," Don replied. Roger didn't say much more. He just walked with a slow, steady pace, smiling at the people who passed by. On their way home, a man on a bike came zooming past, splashing mud on both of them. Don jumped back. "Hey! Watch where you're going," he yelled after the biker. The man didn't stop. Don turned to Roger, waiting for him to say something. But Roger simply wiped his arm with a handkerchief and kept walking. "You're not mad?" Don asked. Roger smiled. "Nope. I'm still dry inside." "What does that even mean?" "It means his actions don't have to change my peace." Don rolled his eyes. "I'd be mad for hours after something like that." Roger nodded. "That's what I used to do too. Then I learned something important. You can't stop people from splashing mud. But you can decide whether you stay dirty." Don didn't say anything. But he thought about it. The next few days went by slowly. Roger spent time gardening, reading, and fishing. He never seemed in a rush. He always spoke gently. Don noticed it, but didn't really understand how he could stay so calm all the time. One afternoon, they were in town getting groceries. At the checkout, a man cut in front of them. Don immediately opened his mouth, but Roger gently put his hand on Don's arm. "Let it go," Roger said softly. "But he just skipped us." "I know. And we'll still be okay." Don looked confused but didn't argue. As they walked home with their groceries, Roger spoke. "Don, let me tell you something I've learned. Every time you react with anger or frustration, you give someone else control over your mind. But shouldn't people be called out if they're wrong?" "Sometimes, yes. But not always. Not everything needs a reaction. Especially if it only takes your peace and solves nothing." That night, they sat on the porch watching the sun go down. The sky turned orange and pink, and the lake reflected the light like a mirror. Roger leaned back in his chair. "Let me tell you a story from when I was your age." Don looked over, interested. "There was a boy in my class, his name was Eric. He loved teasing people. And I was an easy target. He'd make fun of my clothes, push my books off the desk, even mimic my voice." Don nodded. "I have kids like that at school." "Well," Roger continued, "one day I got fed up. I shoved him hard in the hallway. He fell and scraped his elbow. He told the teacher I attacked him. I got detention for 2 weeks. Wasn't that unfair?" Don asked. "Very. But it taught me a lesson. My reaction got me in trouble. Not his behavior. Mine." "So what did you do after that?" "I started ignoring him. Completely. When he said something mean, I smiled or just walked away. It wasn't easy. But after a while, he got bored and left me alone." "Did it work?" Roger nodded. "Not only did he stop bothering me, but I felt better. I wasn't angry all the time. I realized I had power, not over him, but over myself." Don thought about that for a long time. A few days later, Don got the chance to practice. They were back at the lake when a group of kids around Don's age started making fun of his haircut. "Hey, did your grandpa use a lawn mower on your head?" one boy laughed. Don's fists tightened. Roger stood behind him, calm as always. Don took a deep breath. "Yeah," he said, smiling, "and next time I'll ask him to do yours too." The kids looked confused for a second, then lost interest. As they walked away, Don glanced at Roger. "Did you see that?" Roger chuckled. "I did. You didn't lose your cool. You kept your power." Don felt good, really good. Not because he had said something clever, but because he hadn't let them get under his skin. On the last night before Don went back home, Roger handed him a small notebook. "What's this?" "A place to write down your thoughts. Especially when you feel like reacting. Write before you speak. Think before you move. Don flipped through the pages. On the inside cover, Roger had written, "The strongest person is not the one who can fight back, but the one who can walk away with peace in his heart." "I want you to remember something," Roger said. "People will always test your patience. But when you choose how to respond, you're choosing the kind of life you want to live." Don nodded. "Thanks, Grandpa." Roger smiled. "You're learning something important, Don. Most people spend their lives reacting. But real strength is quiet. It doesn't shout. It doesn't rush. It listens. It breathes. And then it decides." Moral of the story. The power to control your emotions is one of the greatest strengths you can develop. You can't control how others behave, but you can always control how you respond. Not reacting in anger is not weakness, it is wisdom, patience, and peace.